Economy and Sage, we're here again and we're looking to do business. Like, share, and subscribe. Take a few seconds to like, share, and subscribe, and continuously you will get the right deal from us. We are not looking at going to the branches to get our fruit. We go inside the root, and that's usually where the answers are. Autonomy. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing fine, sir. It's good to be back with you, brother. It's been a minute.
And a lot of things to talk about. Hollywood and how Hollywood has helped to shape Nubian people's thinking and has left us in suspended animation. And we are going to talk about that. And I know you had many good things to talk about that in my discussions with you throughout the week. Let's talk about Hollywood and how this thing has shaped us, autonomy.
Absolutely. This is a very pertinent conversation regarding Hollywood, right? And let's look at the word Hollywood. I like to look at words, words have histories, words have political and cultural intentionality. The word Hollywood. In folklore and mythology and legends, wizards made their magic wands or their wood stick from the holly tree, right? So a wizard had to make his magic wand from the holly tree. That's where the concept of the word Hollywood come from, right? Just as Tinkerbell has her magic wand. And the wand is a symbol of transformation, right? When they tap you with their magic wand, they transform you, right? So the media, the word media, we hear the word media, but also the word media means to mediate, to come between. As you put a medium between something, come between something. What are they coming between? They're becoming the reality of the world, right? Hollywood's job is to mediate and create fantasy that comes in between reality, separates you, a dividing, separates you from reality. So now you see the world through a magical conception, through magical conceptions. You see the world through phantasmagoria, right? You see, they Hollywood creates a world that doesn't exist, and they feed this fantasy magical world to the children, right? Because we sit our children in front of the Disney Channel, right?
Right.
The magical world, right?
Yeah.
Abracadabra, right? The
Yes.
spell, as Tinkerbell. When the Disney program opened up, you had the Tinkerbell. She's the fairy, and she taps her wand, and then the scene transformed, right?
Right. Right.
So that's the whole concept of creating this magical world. And we, like I say, we sit our children in front of the Disney Channel, right?
We have to. We grow up like that.
But the psychic violence that comes from the Disney Channel, right? Matter of fact, just recently they had a scene where these flying characters, right? Spider-Man's flying characters, and one of the characters says in the skit, it says, "Oh, monkeys like bananas," and then another kid said, "Oh, there's other people who like bananas too," and then they flash down and show on the ground a little black girl and a little black boy, and a character feeding them bananas, right?
Yes.
So now they make an inference or association with monkeys to black people, right? And Disney been doing that for a long time, man. Even with the black magpies in the Dumbo on the Dumbo episode, where the magpies singing with black voices, right? So the psychic violence, man, continues, right? Ongoing. We got to understand the Disneyfication of our minds.
We have to understand that Hollywood shapes culture. Hollywood predicts culture. They make culture. So what they see on television, what we see on television, we emulate. And Hollywood has been sending us movies that take us away from, I don't care what color you are. If you've got movies coming from Hollywood, Friday the 13th, Halloween, The Conjuring. America is supposed to be a Christian nation. Are we 90% of America is probably Christian, at least 80% Christian, I would think. Now, if this is a Christian nation, none of the preachers, none of the reverends, we're going to talk about religion too, we're not going to leave that out. But none of the preachers or the reverends or the clergy are picketing outside the major studios saying that you're bringing us trash, you're bringing our kids trash. And this is killing our society, our culture, our nature. And nobody says anything about that. And this is what really gets to me. Hollywood has a open door, open gate to bring us whatever they want. We consume it, we become it, and it continues to leave us in suspended animation. So I think we're going to talk about religion and how detrimental that has been to us. I think we have a lot to say on that. But this Hollywood thing, it really gets me because we've allowed it to come into our homes and our lives, and it's brought us nothing but shame and discomfort. Go ahead. I wanted to say that.
And it's interesting. And most of these horror movies that come out of Hollywood, they have a connection. There's always a religious tone to it, an undertone. Like they'll have a church, or the devil and an exorcist in religion, right? The priests come in and exorcise the devil. And it's amazing how the symbiotic relationship of horror and the religious undertone, right? And you look at that and you're like, wow, this is supposed to be a Christian nation, but they promote, devil worship. They promote horror. They promote the macabre, the evil with the they started in the early days with the Dracula, and Dracula, he can be killed. He's afraid of a cross, right? Look how they associate that, put all this fear, because they know that the masses mind is connected to sex. It's connected to sex and fear. The
Right.
rush you get out of being afraid as you sit there in the movie trembling with popcorn hanging from your lip, right?
Listen, my daughter, my 12-year-old daughter watched this movie, The Conjuring, or one of these movies that on her iPad. Certainly not with my knowledge. And certainly we did something about that. But after she saw it, she couldn't sleep in her room for a couple of days. She saw in her dream, she saw something coming out of the mirror. These are some of the things now who when they put these movies out, they have no concern. And none of the good people, so-called leaders, so-called reverends and ministers, they never speak out about it. They allow it to continue, yet they call themselves Christian good people, but they never call out the sons of you know what that put out these movies by the thousands.
Right.
And they affect our kids' mind and adults' minds, and they wonder why people are going stark raving crazy in the streets when they're half drunk, half high, and fixed on these movies that have given them the impetus to be crazy. And if it doesn't add to your sanity, then it takes away from your sanity. And I can't think of any one movie I've seen, maybe one or two, but the rest of them have no business being on the movie screen. If you're good Christian people, you say, how could you allow these movies to enter into the homes and the theaters across America? Doesn't make sense to me.
Because this is control and fear factor, right? As I was telling you once before about the TV series Get Smart, where the good guys were called control and the bad guys were called chaos. They have to create, in order to control people, you have to create chaos.
Yes.
And fear is a part of the chaos, right?
Yes. Yes.
And his sidekick, his agent 99. Look at the association, 99 versus the 1%, right? So they must keep the 99%, full of fear, pornography, sex, drugs. That way the 1% can dominate the 99%. And they do that through media, because they know psychic life is created and generated by the social function of power through media, mediating the mind between reality and fantasy. And that's how it operates.
What what a crazy, like a spinning wheel. And we have been consuming it. We are part of this problem because when they show it, we don't have to see it. I've been part of that wave of individuals. I can't separate myself, but one has to see this whole picture in front of them. And I realized that this picture that we're allowed to see, that Hollywood is presenting, whether it's through movies, sitcoms, reality shows, or whatever. These things are only to promote themselves and not really to bring mental health. They look at these things and how can you put these things on the marketplace? Yes, they make money. Yes, they make money. But if you're putting it out just to make money, irregardless of who it might damage, what kid who is looking at these movies, like my little 12-year-old girl who watched one of these movies and now she can't sleep in her room. These demons and images keep coming up. So this is the problem with Hollywood and the way they are shaping our thinking, dominating our thought process with this trash, and then we as a people have continually consumed it, which is equally as bad. Let's move to religion. I wanted to
let me say this.
no, please.
Hollywood is psychic violence. It's the center of psychic violence, right? And it's also connected to religion, the macabre, religion. All this is a part of the manipulation of consciousness, right? To create a pseudo world that lives in your mind, right? And the fear and control, all that's there. Go ahead, brother.
We're going to talk about religion. I saw a interview on television. Charlemagne was the interviewer. There was an individual from one of the record companies, major heads of one of these record companies that produce hip hop music. When he was talking about some drug, Oxycontin or whatever, and several of the rappers use it in their raps that this record company executive actually has signed to record deals. And they talked about the drug, and the record company executive said, well, this is one of the most prominent drugs that is hurting our society. I'm standing against it. And he said, well, why would you sign two artists that actually talk about it all the time? And he couldn't say anything. So finally, after he was cornered, he says, my family's got to eat. And so the mentality is my family's got to eat, not what society, not the movement you're causing inside society, not the, it's incredible. An individual would say that, but it doesn't surprise me. Let's move to religion. We talked about religion before, and I want to talk about this thing with you because you made some incredibly sound points. We believe in the narrative that we were told about from our parents. I told a friend of mine, you believe you're Christian because you were born in America, but if you were born in India, you'd be something else. You were born in Iraq, you'd be something else. You just happen to have been born here, and Christianity is the major religion here. So that's why you're Christian. So he says, he really didn't know what to say. But again, that's my thought process. And this religion thing has kept us in a real suspended animation form. We can't get anywhere because we believe that God is going to change everything. He's coming. Jesus is coming. This white man with a beard is coming to change our life.
Absolutely. Because see, religion is only the deification of a culture. It's the deification of a culture, and every culture creates a eternal hero, right? Every culture must have an eternal hero. And that hero coming from the ancient Egyptian word Haru, right? And that eternal hero is projected as the divine man, right? And in Christian world, the eternal hero is Jesus. In the Jewish mind, the eternal hero is Moses, right?
Yes.
And even in the Chinese culture, the eternal hero is Confucius. Everybody has to create an eternal hero, a model to emulate, right? And in the Arab world, the eternal hero is Muhammad, right? And
Yes.
they're all sons of the sun, mythical heroes created to deify a culture, deify the image, and the image of Christianity in the Christian world is the eternal hero, Jesus.
So right. So right,
The
my brother.
projection of the dominant culture being uh, uh, white, the
Mhm.
divinity of whiteness in the Christian culture, because Christianity is the divination or the divinity of whiteness. In the Arab culture, the divinity is Muhammad and an Arab. In the Chinese culture, the divinity, their eternal hero is Confucius. In the Jewish community, divinity of the eternal hero is Moses, right? So every culture, ancient time and present, had to have an eternal hero, a model to represent the Superman or the hero of that particular culture, the eternal hero, the God figure.
And our eternal hero is a Jesus with a beard, white skin, and long brown hair.
Absolutely. The deification of a culture.
So once you accept that as that man is your hero, and he looks like Johnny on the street, they have beards, they're both white, they both have long brown hair. You praise this one, you praise that one in the suit. It's the same mindset. I mean, people are not maybe going there mentally, but it has to connect.
Yes.
Why do you think that they made him white?
That's
They didn't.
associate.
They could have made him pink, green.
Exactly. And that's associate thinking. That's the race. That's to lift one culture or one race over others. That's why they say in script in the concept or the statement that God so loved the world that he gave his only implies superiority and exclusion. So you have to have the eternal hero, the standard, the model that everyone looks up to. In any other races within that dominant culture, you will praise consciously or subconsciously the eternal hero, the image of the divine one.
Yes, yes,
And that
yes.
moves that culture along and allows that culture to be what it needs to be to serve its own interests in the interest of that particular race or that particular eternal hero of that culture or that people to dominate. And those who are not of that particular race and of the eternal hero image, they will be subservient in that culture.
And you will do it subliminally, which means that it's been done for hundreds of years, the same mindset. And so subliminally, you will praise one when you praise the other. Let me just explain that. You praise God, you praise Jesus, and the image that you have of Jesus is as a white man, because that's the image that's been portrayed since the beginning of our time here. And so, since that's the image that we've been seeing since our mothers, our grandmothers, it sticks in our heads. And if
Right?
Jesus came from God and Jesus is white, he's Jewish, he's white, and he came from God, he's God's son, then God must be white. And so we automatically in our minds picture the average white man on the street or in offices around the country or the world. He's connected to Jesus. He looks
Exactly.
like him. We are to praise him, praise one, praise the other. And this is where we do it subliminally in our minds without thinking about it. And it's
Exactly.
killing us.
And it's a masterful marketing ploy. Look at all the money that's made from the projection of white divinity. Look at the hot combs. Look at the dyeing of that blonde hair and the blue and green contact lenses. Look at the Italian bags. Everything that has to be white in order to be right, right? And we already talked about Snow White as a witch looks in the mirror and say, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" Even Hollywood and Disney, they reinforce whiteness and the divinity of whiteness with the blonde hair, Tinkerbell. her hair is blonde, her skin is white, Snow White, Goldilocks with the golden hair, right? Because then
Look,
now
look
you
back
can
at
go on and on and on. The Rapunzel with the long hair, she lets her hair down, and you
yeah.
climb up the hair. So now they sell you the beauty products to make your hair longer. Get rid of the curl and have long flowing hair. Even sisters with braids got braids hanging almost 2 inches from the ground, right? It has to be long. It has to emulate the divine model.
When listen, when we grew up, brother Autonomy, um, we used to put that wave cream in our head. The one you saw with you watch Malcolm X and how Malcolm X say put the relaxer in his head because we wanted the wavy hair. We were told that the kinky hair was ugly and the
Exactly.
wavy hair was good hair. That's the good hair. So we wanted the
Yeah.
good hair because we were told our hair was ugly. We were
Yeah.
told that we were ugly. We bought into that lie, and again subliminally, once a lie has been told to you over and over again, and you don't contest it, then you will accept it.
Exactly. Because see, what they take good and bad hair, they relate it to, designated to a moral context. Not just that there's only two types of hair, really. Actually, four types. It's clean hair and dirty hair, long hair and short hair. There's no such thing as good and bad hair, because good hair implies that there's bad hair. And if it's good, and if it's good hair, and if it's considered good hair, you must say compared to what?
That's the
And
best
if
way.
it's
That's the
bad
best.
hair, you must say, this is very important.
That's
If it's good hair, it must be compared to what? And if it's bad hair, it must be compared to what? So they put it in a moral context.
wow. That's
Rather
super. How
not,
you said that was just incredibly. I
yeah.
hope everybody got that because that was rich.
Let me say it again. The good hair and the so-called bad hair, the good hair must be relative or compared to what? And the bad hair must be relative or compared to what? So that's the game they play, and all the money they make by playing into the concepts of taking hair and put it in a moral context, rather than just the reality of hair, real, right?
My
So
goodness.
now it's relative. You should say compared to what? Compared to the divine model. What is the divine model? That the white hair, this white stringy hair, this which is weak, which doesn't attract electromagnetic currents as the curly hair does. The curly hair attracts in more gamma rays and electromagnetic currents, which the body needs because the body works on electromagnetic currents.
Talk to
And
him.
the
Talk to
curly
him.
hair is the best hair they have in the scientific form, if you look at it scientifically. But if you look at it morally, then good, they can drop the good hair and bad hair on you. So when they drop the good hair and bad hair on you, now you have to go buy products to deal with your so-called bad hair that you bought from the context of placing hair in a moral context.
Hmm.
It's cold. It's a
Li-
cold game they play, but
You
we got to
better
wake up to this.
you better like, share, and subscribe out there because somebody you know needs to hear this. Somebody you know right now needs to like, share, and subscribe. Just take a little time to like, share, and subscribe on this subject we're talking about right now. Religion. Let's see how it has been for us. Look at your black neighborhood if you live in a neighborhood that has Nubian people in it. We live in Los Angeles, so we can see the neighborhoods in our communities. And what shape do you think they're in? If you have to grade A through F, what grade do you give them, brother Autonomy? What grade, what grade do you give our communities here in Los Angeles? Because the
Well,
grade that you give them, understand we have churches every corner of this city. They're everywhere. They're collecting tithes by the millions. But if our communities are not anywhere better today than they were 30 years ago, and we've got $1 million church mansions set up around the cities, and their communities look like a trash bin, and I hate to be that descriptive, but how else can I say it? What grade do you give our communities? You see them every day, brother Autonomy.
is there a grade lower than F?
I, I hate to go there.
Well, that's it. Because we do not understand. I'm gonna say it this way: Black people do not respect history. We think history is something that is left behind, it has no account, or it floats away in the air like smoke disappear in the room, or water evaporates into the sky, right? History, history is the memory of a people. History tells you what is possible and what is not possible. And without history, people are in amnesia. They're in a state of amnesia. And that's where we are because we really don't understand history. We don't really understand that history teaches lessons. It's not history is not just to say of dates and personalities. History teach lessons. History, like I say, history tells you who you are, and history tells you who other people are.
How powerful.
And if you don't have that history in your mind, then you can't understand the theory of mind. What is the theory of mind? The theory of mind is this: being able to look through the eyes of other people at yourself, looking through their eyes at you. And if you can't, and if you don't have the ability to engage in theory of the mind, you are considered mind blind. Your third eye is blind. Now you use your two eyes to try to see the world, and the two eyes will only see the world in illusion. Only the mind, inner vision, as Stevie tried to tell us, only the inner vision is the true eye. The single eye is in the Bible. One chapter says the single eye. That's in the Bible. I can't think of the verse right now. It said the single eye allows you to see, not the two eyes. Those eyes will deceive you every time. So since we don't have the historical mind, we have a hysterical mind. We see the world through emotions. We see the world through the superficial world, and we only operate on our feelings and what we believe. But
And,
when you have a historical mind, you use reason and logic because now you have the history to tell you to look back and understand. History is the foundation of consciousness. And without it, you're mind blind.
it is your flashlight to the future. And without understanding how valuable history is, you will repeat the mistakes in the future. And so, yes, we do not have history. Most of us think that slavery is our beginning. A lot of us think that slavery, because that's been promoted. They don't promote the Moors. They ruled for 700 years. They ruled in a way that other nationalities that lived among those Nubian people said it was the best life they could possibly want. They were treated as equals, treated as human beings. The Moors treated them really, really well. And this is how people should be treated, no matter what nationality they are. We get it. We get it. The Moors got it, but we don't understand who they are and what they represented. They ruled for 700 years. They taught the Europeans the disciplines that they say that they taught us. Ridiculous. We don't understand the Moors. We don't understand our history. And that history, as I said, is a flashlight to the future. You commented so well on that. And until we understand our future, we're going to be no good collectively. The things that the Jewish people have done, Hispanic people have done well, they collectively work as a collective. We don't. And that's because we don't understand our history. Jamal, I want to talk about this little girl that before we leave, you had explained what had happened. I can't articulate it like you, so why don't you take a moment and talk about that situation we talked about earlier.
When you say the little girl, help me remember. It's just so much stuff to
Well,
remember.
I tell you, let's get to it. I tell you what, we're running out of time for this show. Let's start off next show with that situation with the little girl and the monkey comment that was made. We don't have enough time to get through it now, but let's get it done the next time we're on the air next Wednesday. That's something to look forward to because that is an interesting story, and we'll discuss more about this religious thing that has us, you and I believe, in suspended animation. We have not been able to grow one iota after years and years and years of being into this religion mode that has left us without a blanket. We'll talk about that this week.
Gospel spell. this spell that we're under, this gospel spell. Like I say, the word gospel means the spell of God. Until we break this gospel spell, we will forever be in this abyss.
Like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. Let's get this message out.